Trading card games are better when it's all about the love. When money gets involved, it really does kind of spoil everything, doesn't it? This is going to be our topic for today, everybody. Welcome back. I am Ted from Ted's Basement. I was thinking, I'm always chasing the old times. It could be 5 years ago, it could be 20 years ago, but there were always moments that we think back to that were really great, whether it's like the people involved, the game was really good, you mix it all together and you just have like a moment, a really nostalgic moment that you want to replicate. And we always can't do that replication. I mean, sometimes we are successful at that, but it's really hard to replicate those kind of things because they're not artificial. They just happened, right? They were organic, they were honest, they were open, they were raw. It's really, there's a love there, a love for the game, for the people, for the situation that you're in. When you look at those games, a lot of times it's like the creator of the game had love for the game that they were creating. And so that's injected in. And so you find it throughout. When money gets involved, it really does kind of spoil everything, doesn't it? I'm not saying that money shouldn't be involved. At the end of the day, these are businesses that have to stay running. Otherwise, there won't be a game, right? There won't be distribution. There won't be employees to design and make the cards. And it just, money has to be involved. I get it. Even with myself, when I'm working out a deal with somebody and either I'm buying a product or I'm selling a product, it's a little easier with primary market stuff, right? Like you could just set MSRP or you can come in a little under or go a little over, whatever it is, and you're just kind of like bulk selling. That doesn't necessarily taint the product for me. But if I'm dealing with maybe a more specific product or a single case scenario, and if that buy, sell, trade experience isn't like really smooth and we just kind of like move past it as quickly as we can, we come to an agreement, it starts to really just kind of ruin that product for me. As much as I really want, let's say it's something I'm trying to buy that's really rare, as much as I may want that product during those negotiations and it affects the price I'm willing to pay, by the time I'm done, sometimes it just gets messy and I'm like, I don't know, man, the money just kind of ruined it for me a little bit. And then sometimes I'm like, maybe I just shouldn't have bought it in the first place because now it's tainted. And if I can't get past that, that dollar number is always going to be assigned to that product. Every time I look at that product, I'm going to want that product to be worth at least what I paid or more. Otherwise, I'm going to feel like I got screwed. So it's just, money does just kind of ruin it. It spoils the magic. It spoils the love. And it's inevitable. We're going to have to keep buying and selling things. I mean, it's just the way the world works. But for the untainted things, it's really the best, right? Like when money didn't taint it. And that's going to be like, usually it's your primary market stuff. If I can get in early on something at a good price, right? Like I'm paying MSRP or below, and I'm just being an early supporter, like an honest early supporter. Those are usually your best outcomes because now you've got a really cool product. It is really rare. It's also possibly going to go up in value, and you didn't have to go pay, thousands and thousands of dollars to acquire it. So that number is not stuck in your head every time you look at that card, every time you look at that set. Like even Cryptid Nation, in order for me to complete my Cryptid Nation set, I had to spend like over $1,000 to get it finalized because by the time I was getting into MetaZoo, you couldn't get boxes for MSRP. So I look at that set, that dollar number is always still tied to it. And I'm sure it's more than what I paid. I'm sure it's up in value. That's not the point. The point is I'm seeing money sometimes when I look at the set. Now, I try to fight that a lot of times and just enjoy the cards, and that works, and that's cool. It's just that if I bought those for MSRP in box form, like when it was just primary market and I didn't pay any overage or anything, I wouldn't think about the money at all, right? Like I would just look at the set because, when you're paying MSRP, you're getting like 360 cards or more, whatever's in that box, for $100, $90, $130, depending on what product we're talking about, what game we're talking about. And when you divide that out over the cards, I mean, it's like pennies per card. It's not even $1 a card. So the price is low enough that money doesn't become a future factor in whether or not you enjoy the product. I think that, ties into some of the past talks that I've had where I've said, look, even for investors, when you go to decide which products to get involved in, you really can't go wrong if you get involved with the ones that you truly love. And you have to do some soul searching, and don't lie to yourself there, because FOMO can make you lie to yourself. FOMO has you convincing yourself that you should buy a certain game or a certain product, or even acquire a certain position. Maybe it's, makes you buy 100 of one card or something, or a bunch of a certain sealed product because you think it's going to go up. So that FOMO has you potentially lying to yourself. But if you can navigate that and really be honest and understand when you love something and when you don't, and then try to only buy the things that you love, I do believe you will be better off in the long run. Because you're not even thinking about the money part anymore. Whether it's cheap to buy or expensive to buy, or whether it goes up in value or goes down in value, you love this thing. So it kind of doesn't really matter what the money does. I know that, like, to some degree, the money's always going to matter because our society is built on it and you need it to live and operate. But you've hedged your bets because you've got something in your hand that you love. And there's value to that, right? Money has value. But love has value, low stress has value, time has value. A lot of things have value. It's not just money. And we could extrapolate that out further to say even whole games that we get involved in may crumble, right? Like, we don't know how many of these new TCGs are going to make it and be around in 5 years or 10 years. Let's just say a bunch of the games that we've all bought into fail. But if we bought into them because we love them, it's actually becomes really special. Like, even when they fail, it's bittersweet because it's like, we don't want them to fail. We want them to stay around. We want them to create more product that we love. When they fail, then you're kind of like, I'm glad I was at least around to get a piece of that history, right? Like, I've got it and I can look at it now. And, some of these sets, it's like, maybe there's 10 of them in the whole world. Maybe there's 500 of them in the whole world. Like, these are small numbers. And you get to be part of, the alumni, one of those people who were there at the beginning, and you got to enjoy it and you still have it. They can't take it away from you. If the game fails, you still have that set. At the end of the day, these are all still great feelings to have, and you can still enjoy that card or cards of a failed set as long as you bought it with love in the first place. When you buy things that you don't love and the driver is only for profit, you pretty much only have one positive outcome, one possible positive outcome, which is you sold it for profit. Any other outcome, you don't really meet your goal, right? Because you only had the one goal. I mean, whatever, right? That's to each his own. You could do that if you want. But if you focus that investing power into things that you love, then you have two possible outcomes that are both positive. One is that, sure, you could still get your profit, right? You buy the product, it goes up in value, you sell it for profit, you completed the life cycle. The other positive outcome is, even when the price goes down or the game ends or whatever happens that just it doesn't result in profit, you love this product, so you have it to enjoy in perpetuity. That's another positive outcome that you afford yourself if you buy the things you love. So I would encourage, if you're an investor out there, then I would encourage you to invest in the things that you love. Don't just jump on stuff because you think it makes all the money sense. Because if you do that, again, you've only got one possible outcome that is a positive one, which is related to dollars and cents. There's no love aspect to it. So there's no like alternative usage for that product. If it goes to zero, you essentially have nothing. You've wasted time, you built stress, and you wasted money. Again, if you love it, then you don't waste those things, because now you just move to your alternative outcome and you enjoy the product in perpetuity and you're good to go. That said, I'm not here to advocate that you go out and invest in these games either. There are other avenues to engage with these products. You can be a pure collector, right? This is a person who generally collects and isn't really looking to sell stuff. They don't buy extra to sell. They just collect, and that's what they do. You have the players, obviously, and they're buying to play. They build their decks and they actually use the cards and they play the game. And of course, you have all different varying degrees of the three, because a lot of players, I've seen this in Magic a ton, pure Magic players, they'll build their decks, they'll spend tons of money to buy the best decks that they can get. And by the end, let's say a couple years go by, those decks are no longer in standard. or Modern Magic play anymore for tournaments, and they'll just go sell them. Sometimes that's for profit, sometimes it's not. They're a player. They'll tell you they're a player all day long. They just sold their cards, and they have a cycle of selling their cards. In fact, they may have sold more cards than some investors because that's how often they play, that they actually have to cycle. And then some of them are players with a blend of collector. They don't sell any of their decks. They want to keep every deck that they made and that they played, and they just amass their collection and enjoy that collection in perpetuity. So you've got these different blends. There's no right or wrong answer. They all help the game succeed. I know a lot of players that don't like investors, and that's fine. You can have your opinion, but those investors buy up product that ultimately fuel the secondary and primary markets, so that you have either more exposure, people hear about it, or the profit that the original game manufacturer gets to realize because that investor purchased the product on the primary market. So you're now funding the next set. So I can see value in all three. I'm not here to talk about every nuanced scenario. I'm sure there are plenty of bad actions that investors take that are really that's a real questionable thing. Maybe it's not moral or whatever. And there's times where players get nasty in the community, and they inject negativity that doesn't do anything good for the game. So I'm not sure that there's really a valid argument to make that any particular group of people is good or bad for a game. Each individual person has their own individual actions and behaviors that they take that have a result to the community or to the game. And it doesn't really matter what group you're in. You are an individual, and you're going to have your own specific case to be made. Looking at all three groups, I feel like love gives them all a better chance of having a positive outcome and just a better experience overall engaging with their game and their community. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.